Ever wonder what you'd get if Avatar, Infamous and God of War had a baby? The God Slayer is an upcoming action-adventure RPG, and damn, does it look good. In this video, we're gonna talk about everything you should know about the God Slayer and how this game already puts all these big Western AAA studios to shame. Now, just to be clear, what I'm gonna tell you comes from an interview the creative director Z5 Wu gave to RPG site, so yeah, take it all with a grain of salt. Now, first things first, the God Slayer is being developed by Pathea, a Chinese indie studio, and this is the first time they're working on something of this scale and size. They're best known for the My Time games. My Time at Portia and My Time at Sandrock are little cozy open-world RPGs that I know nothing about since I don't play these games. However, the people who actually play this type of stuff do have some good things to say about them, but more on that in a bit. Now, naturally, I would be skeptical, but these are Eastern devs we're talking about, and most of them have been delivering bangers as of late. One more thing that boosts my confidence is they straight up showed 7 minutes of gameplay, even though the game's been in development for just around 2 years. Now, you might argue that this is a scripted gameplay sequence, but then again, who shows this much gameplay so early on in development, flaws and all? I would also say that it gives you a far better idea of what the game is actually about and what to really expect. And to be honest, I think more companies should just drop straight up gameplay instead of CGI teasers anyway. The game is also a part of the PlayStation China Hero project, which means Sony definitely saw some potential, and since the game is set to drop in 2027, the devs have a lot of time to cook, and that's why I'm not gonna complain about janky and clunky movement, cause this stuff will probably eventually get fixed, hopefully. Another thing that fascinated me the most, even more than the flashy superpowers, is the world itself. I love it when the devs try to bring something unique and new to the table. And this steampunk Asian setting with steam-powered cars and airships is something I haven't really seen before. The game will mostly be taking place in the fictional city of Zhao, a 3x3 kilometer city in a 5x5 kilometer map, which might not seem that big, but it's twice as big as Assassin's Creed Mirage. The capital city of Zhao is based on Chongqing, the same city that Pathea is based in. And just like the real place, the city of Zhao is also gonna be dense. In the gameplay footage, you can see the narrow streets and tightly packed buildings, which also make for some decent parkour. And judging from this scene, there might be some accessible interiors as well, but since this is a small studio, things could change in the final build of the game. One more thing that really caught my attention is the philosophy behind the open world design. It's an open world game. Players don't have to do only the mainline missions, they can just stay in this world and play based on whatever they like. Just like when you play a Grand Theft Auto game, you go into it and you don't really do the main missions for the first 2 hours. You just run around and beat up people and steal cars. I think the same thing can happen in our game as well. And this is music to my ears. Now, I might be reaching here, but they did show off some cars in the game, so who knows, you might be able to drive them as well. Anyways, the thing is, they're taking inspiration from all the right places. I just hope they populate the world with interesting side content and not Ubisoft-style bloated checklists. But yeah, overall the open world looks very interesting and I personally can't wait to explore every nook and cranny of it. Now, they also give a good idea of what the story is actually about. The world of God Slayer was created long ago by powerful deities, also known as celestials. They needed humans to cultivate the life energy, aka Chi, which they could then harvest to stay eternal. However, some humans, also known as Elementers, learned to channel their Chi, unlocking the ability to control
water, earth, fire,
metal. Not air, of course, because otherwise Nickelodeon would sue them. Now, this was a huge red flag for Celestials, so they retaliated by destroying the strongest kingdom and some of the strongest Elementers in one single night. This cataclysmic event known as Godfall is what kickstarts the story of our main protagonist, Chang, whose family was slaughtered during this fateful night. So of course, the premise of the game is pretty straightforward. You just have to find and kill all the gods. Basically, Chang is the low testosterone version of Kratos. However, this isn't simple hacking, slashing everything that moves until you reach the next boss. Chang and a few other people know the ugly truth about Celestials, but a ton of regular people still love and worship them because, they're gods. And this really shows how the devs are trying to make the story much more nuanced by leaning into the concepts of faith, relationships, and societal elements. So you're not just facing super powerful beings, you also have to face society as well. And it's also quite possible that the Elementers might be feared, distrusted, or maybe even treated like terrorists, kinda like the convicts from the Infamous games. And that also kinda explains the weird masks. Speaking of Infamous though, man, I miss those games. But I don't think you're getting a new one anytime soon. But you know what you will be getting? More of my no bullshit gaming content if you're subscribed. So if you're new here, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and do all the YouTube stuff, like, comment, share. Your help would really mean a lot because at this point it feels like I've been stuck in the 900s like forever and YouTube is just edging me, but anyways. The thing is, Pathea's previous games like My Time at Portia and Sandrock are praised for their surprisingly in-depth and interlinked systems, which are also present in the Ghost Lair, but more on that in a bit. These games are also loved for their nuanced storytelling, character writing, and unique world building. So obviously that experience is going to carry over into the Ghost Lair as well. And overall the setting seems pretty intriguing, and safe to say you'll be meeting a lot of interesting characters along the way. The gameplay footage showed off these really impressive God of War-like seamless transitions between gameplay and cutscenes. It might not seem like a big of a deal, but remember, Pathea is a small indie studio with just around 150 people working there. They could have easily gone with fade to blacks after cutscenes and no one would have complained because this is an indie game, or maybe a AA game at best. But they went out of their way to deliver a smooth experience and even built a brand new motion capture studio just for this game. This actually shows how passionate these devs really are, and it definitely deserves some credit, especially when a big quadruple A game like Shadows gave us this.
Want a meal, monster? Come and get it!
At this point, Ubisoft should just die of embarrassment because what the f is this? The Ghost Lair is a game being made by a much smaller studio. Yet their pre-alpha build looks infinitely better than this trash. But anyways, let's talk about the combat. This game seems to feature the Arkham-style combat system, simple stuff like attack, dodge, and parry. It's nothing groundbreaking, but when paired with the elemental magic, it becomes way more layered. Now, the gameplay footage didn't really show how the magic systems really work, but I noticed how the melee attacks were infused with either fire or earth. They might introduce some kind of on-the-fly switching mechanic similar to the Ghost games, only here you can select the type of elemental magic you want to use. What actually blew me away though was how well thought out and interconnected all these elemental systems actually are. Like fire can burn and consume wood, water can soak and freeze enemies that can later be crushed.
In a rock avalanche!
Or how this earthbending attacks create a temporary cover that blocks incoming fire instead of letting it clip through. And you can also see the rock getting heated up. So all these systems surprisingly react to each other in a realistic way. And apparently these magic systems eat a lot of CPU power, which is why they're not sure if the game can even run on the Switch 2. So yeah, these guys are not playing around. One thing that really reminds me of Avatar: The Last Airbender, the Nickelodeon show, not the Netflix abomination, is how the stance and movement changes depending upon the type of bending being used. Waterbending looks smooth and flowing, firebending is more aggressive, and earthbending has a more sturdy and grounded feel. And this makes the game feel more like the Avatar game I've always wanted. Ever since I played Avatar Into the Inferno back on my PS2, I've been starving for a proper open world Avatar game, so watching this felt like a dream come true. One thing that stuck out like a sore thumb though was the use of elemental magic outside of combat. Like in this particular scene, there's only a small highlighted patch where you can use earthbending even though the entire roof is made of the same tiles. So why do you have to wait for the enemy to walk into the glowing area to take them down? I mean, I get it. Fully reactive earthbending everywhere would be a technical nightmare, and it would probably break the game. But still, this could have been handled way better. Anyways, all this still looks pretty cool, but even though my inner 12-year-old is super hyped, there are a couple of things I'm concerned about. The first thing is the English voice acting. It feels a bit bland and monotonous. Like this scene where the actor should have yelled at the top of his lungs, he sounded super casual.
Go! Head for the signal!
I mean, it should have been more like,
Go! Head for the signal!
Now, I think the original Chinese performances would likely be much better since those are the actual actors in mocap suits. However, I still hope they improve the English dialogue and vocal performances. The second concern I have is about the game engine. Most of their previous games were developed on Unity. For this game, however, they made the switch to Unreal Engine 5. That also explains the weird and clunky movement. Most games made on UE5 have this really Unreal Engine-y feel to them that I can't really explain, but you get the idea. Then there's the performance issues, and we all know how most Unreal Engine games tend to run or crawl. Now, since this game is targeting PC, PlayStation, and surprisingly even Xbox, I really hope they nail the performance and optimization. But with all that said, these small gripes still won't stop me from being hyped for this game. Along with the Blood of Dawnwalker, Crimson Desert, and Blood Message, the Ghost Lair has been added to my most anticipated games list. And funnily enough, none of these games are coming from the AAA Western studios. But I'll leave you at that. Do let me know what do you think about the Ghost Lair in the comments down below. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And if you're feeling generous, hype the video as well if you have that feature since it's not available everywhere. Anyways, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks a ton for watching. Until next time, take care.